right, guys, let's do it. What up? It's JoJo on the radio. This is the iHeartRadio Countdown. I swear I've known this guy for I don't know how long. He's the best dude ever. Such a fan. Ryan Tedder, what's up, man?
I think it's been 12 years.
Crazy thing is, I still do research, even though I know you super well. And when I'm doing research on you, what I find is old interviews of me talking to you. So what's the point of even doing the research?
I know. It's been that long. We're like the Golden Girls.
We kind of are. We got lots to talk about. We got this track from One Republic, called Rescue Me. Going to play that later in the countdown. Your TV show Songland, of course, season 2 just ended. It is doing spectacular.
It's doing well. It's doing it.
Ryan, this TV show Songland, of course, NBC. It's just I don't know what you expected when you first. You told me you were working on it for quite a while, and it makes it finally to network. You know. And here we are. You just wrapped up season 2. This thing has turned into something pretty incredible.
Yeah, this is real. TV shows take a while. It started, in a nutshell, Songland started for me 4 years ago when there was a moment where Adam Levine was going to leave The Voice. And so I had been on The Voice as a mentor for Pharrell and Adam. I'd done the UK version, the Australian version. So they asked me, would you be willing to take Adam's chair on Songland? On The Voice if he leaves? You have 48 hours to decide. That was kind of the conversation. We'll call you back in 2 days from now. So I thought about that night. I thought, oh my God. And this is right around the time we were promoting. Counting Stars had turned into a huge hit for us. This is probably 4.5 years ago. Counting Stars is a big record. We were going around the world touring. So I wasn't really dying to be on TV at that moment. I thought, well, that's still though. It's a huge paycheck. There's all these other things. Let's the elephant in the room. It's a hell of a lot of money. Elephant in the room. So anyway, before I could give them my decision, they called back and said, false alarm. He had a change of heart. He's going to do the next season. But we have this other show that actually is better suited for you because you're a songwriter, producer, all these things. It took 4 years of development. And meanwhile, I was going around the world doing more One Republic, writing more records for other people. And the timing just worked out. I happened to move back to LA about 18 months before the show started filming. And then that was it. It got greenlit. And then when it came out, I can't give you all the statistics, but what I can say is that we're very happy with how it's done. It's the top rated or the best performing new show on network television in 2 years since the summer of 2 summers ago. And it's kind of become one of those things. It's like the musical Shark Tank. And I'm doing another show with Simon Fuller on Nickelodeon.
Good Lord, you are busy. Ryan, I've said it before. I'll say it again. You guys, One Republic, have the best road stories ever. I don't know what you guys do, but crazy stuff happens to you guys on the road. So if I had a trophy for best road story, you would certainly win it.
Yes.
For example, the septic tank breaking on the tour bus story. That's one of my favorites. When you left a band member in another country, who'd you leave again?
We left Drew, our guitar player. We left him in Switzerland on accident, and then we went on to Italy at a gas station.
And he said, luckily, crying was universal. That's how he got it.
I don't speak Swiss or Italian or German, but fortunately, crying is the universal language. And he just started bawling.
I'd be bawling too. By the way, I need a new crazy road story later on in the countdown, but you got to tell that story. Can you imagine being on a tour bus and the septic tank bust?
No. So yeah, it was our first tour. This is 2008, I think, and winter. And we were pulling out of Pittsburgh. We had just played Pittsburgh, our first time we ever played Pittsburgh, which I love. And it was freezing. We're trucking down the road headed towards, I want to say like Boston or something. And all of a sudden the smell in the tour bus was so overwhelming. And I think anyone listening knows there's a difference between, someone just used the bathroom and they bombed it versus, that's a septic tank that just ruptured. That's a different level because that's had time to ferment. That's had time to sit there and get more gnarly. It busted. It cracked because it was too cold. And where it happened, where the septic tank in a tour bus is right above the baggage compartment. So septic tank burst and then drained onto all of our clothes.
Oh God, that is not good.
Yeah, Drew, and unfortunately, because he is the same guy that we left in Switzerland. He has the worst luck of any human being I've ever met. Drew, if you're listening, you know that's true. But his was the luggage that was directly above the line, the crack in the septic tank. So mine was just fine, but Drew's everything he owned was soaked in every form of nastiness possible. And that was our first tour.
The guys of One Republic, you guys seem like fairly, reserved, kind of chill dudes.
Yeah.
And I guess you are, maybe, but man, the stories you guys have,
if you travel enough, something's bound to happen. Like we had a plane, I want to say 6 months ago, we were flying back into a charter plane. So
should we make this the next?
We'll make this the next
All right,
one. Let's
pause
save it.
on that
Let's
one.
save it.
Oh my God.
I'm about to scare y'all.
Ryan, your resume of songwriting is just crazy. So I want to touch on a couple of stories. First one I want to bring up is the Adele story. When you wrote Rumor Has It, to my understanding, you played the guitar and she sang the entire song one take. Give me that story.
Yeah, I have stories about a bunch of these songs. Rumor Has It, she sang, Adele sang it in one take. She came in the next day. I finished all the music the night before. She came in one day and she said, all right, tap the mic. Is the mic on? All right. She's like, all right, let's go. And she ain't real. And she did it in one take. And that was the take we kept. I did a second take just for good measure and deleted it and went back to the first take. And I said, Adele, so for what it's worth, and at that point I've probably been making records for a decade. I said, in 10 years I've never seen anybody do that. I mean, I've heard about that, but I've never, like Aretha famously would do one take. Sinatra would do one take. She did one take, and what you hear on Rumor Has It is the final take. I've had other things happen, like, with Beyonce, when I wrote XO, I did it in a hotel room in Sydney. And I sent the song into the label. And famously with Beyonce, you never know if you have a cut or not. You never know if she's keeping the song. She doesn't tell you anything. And then I was in London recording this Ella Henderson single, Ghost, which was a huge number one in the UK a few years ago. And it did pretty well in the US. Recording the vocals on Ghost. And I get a call from Beyonce's team. Hey, where are you? London. We're sending you a secure link to listen to the mix. XO comes out tomorrow and the whole album. And I said, what? No one had ever done that. Remember, Beyonce invented the cold drop. Like, we just drop an album. Boom. This is the cold drop. This is the first one. And she goes, yeah, the song's coming out. It's the first single. Congrats. You have the first single on Beyonce. It's XO. And then the album, and it's dropping with Drunken Love. And the album comes out tomorrow too. You have 24 hours. Or no, she gave me 2 hours to make any mix notes. The mixer's standing by. I was just like, you've got to be kidding me.
Wow.
And she had recorded the whole song. She was sick when she recorded it. And she liked how it sounded. Because I go, she sounds like she's like sick. She goes, oh, she had the flu. So there's a little tidbit. She had the flu and sang it, but it gave her this rasp to her voice. So when you hear XO, as good as she sounds on it, that's Beyonce singing with the flu. And that's how she recorded it.
Good Lord.
Yeah. I got stories on Sucker, Jonas Brothers. I got Easier, 5 Seconds of Summer. We got a bunch of them.
Oh my God. We'll get to all those coming up, you guys. Ryan, one of the things I am most fascinated about when it comes to you is your studio. He has told me about this studio for years. I haven't seen it yet. One of these days, but you have a studio in Colorado. I hope you still have this studio that was designed after the board game Clue. If you guys know the game Clue, talk about this studio.
Yes. Yeah. A few artists have seen it. Alicia Keys recorded there for a while. Chris Martin Coldplay was the last group or act to use it. Actually, Chris gave me this incredible gift. I'm a massive James Bond fan, so I let him use it for like 3 or 4 days a couple winters ago, and he gifted me the Moonraker gun from James Bond.
Oh my God.
It was like the nicest thing ever. This huge box showed up. Anyway, thank you, Chris. I really appreciate it, man. It's really cool of you. And I like that you like my studio. So anyway, I actually recently sold it to a friend of mine in Denver who, funny, there's a weird story. He bought our house through a text message. I literally texted him and he goes, he goes, hey man, would you ever sell your house? And I said, you're not gonna believe this. We were just thinking about it because we're not in Denver enough anymore. And he goes, would you want it? And he goes, yeah, hold on, let me ask my wife. And then I see the ... He's writing me back. He goes, yeah, we'll take it.
Oh my God. And
I swear to God, didn't have to do all inspections, anything. He just literally took it, wired me the money, and then that's what I used to buy my LA studio. We sold the LA house or the Denver house and studio, and it literally hit the account on a Monday. And we closed on the LA house on that Monday. And that's my studio in LA now. So
God, I'm excited you sold the house. Congrats.
Thank you.
A little sad that I will never be able to see this.
No, but I'm paying LA taxes, bro. So I'm supporting the cause just like you.
Welcome to the pain of this.
Oh my God.
One Republic, Rescue Me, Tedder. Let's play it. Give me some details.
Okay, so this song, as I said a minute ago, I took off from doing One Republic stuff and dove back into writing for other people. When I'm writing for other artists or with them, that's when the best One Republic songs happen because I'm not thinking about the band. When I start to focus on this band and try to write One Republic songs, I never do. It's like too much. It's like, I don't know, it's a mental thing I can't get past. So I had just finished working, I think it was honestly with the Jonas Brothers. Like we were recording, it was around the time we recorded Sucker, right around that time. I popped into another room. My bass player was there, and I go, man, I want to do a song tomorrow that and I had sound of it. I described the sound. I said, like, I want the guitar to sound kind of like this, and I kind of hear this kind of melody. And he picked up a guitar, started playing it, and I swear to God, I went, yeah, I was like, and I still have the recording. I went, would you rescue me? Would you get my back? Would you take my car when I start to crack? Would you rescue me? Would you rescue me? And it came out in one thing. The lyrics, the melody, the song, the entire thing was 5 minutes or less, the whole thing.
So you basically pulled an Adele.
In a writing sense, the best songs that I've ever been a part of, the chorus, lyric, melody, and all of it came out in one fell swoop. One thing. One
Republic, of course, Tedder, Rescue Me. Check this on the iHeartRadio Countdown. All right, guys, we are back. What up? It's JoJo on the radio. Ryan Tedder's hanging out. This is the iHeartRadio Countdown. Tedder, two-part question.
Yes.
Biggest crowd you've ever performed for, and the flip of that, have you ever been booed?
Biggest crowd we've ever performed for was 150,000, and we've done that probably 3 times, about that number. Rock in Rio, they're always festivals. You know, I think Ed Sheeran's the only person that personally can say I sold 150,000 tickets. He's like, do you know I'm playing the moon next year? It's going to be amazing.
He probably would.
Yeah. I swear to God, he would. SpaceX is taking me. They made a custom collab rocket. So we played 150,000 probably 2 or 3 times. That's like your kind of big sold out festival thing. You know, I do Coachella probably every other year. Every other year since 2006, I've performed at Coachella with one of the DJs that I've done a single with that year. So if I, like this year, I've been writing with Martin Garrix, with Marshmello, with Kygo. I performed last year, and those are always, I don't really count that because I'm like the guest, but we did Apologize, and then we did we did Stranger Things, which is the song I did with him. Every DJ out there that I'm friends with, just keep having me write those songs, keep having me sing, because I want to keep going to Coachella for free with the artist pass. Hook a brother up.
Perfect. Now, have you been booed, Tedder?
Yes. This is back in the day. The worst show that we ever did was Kansas City, our first tour, 2008. We didn't have enough songs, man. They paid for an hour and a half. That's a typical set, is like 75 to 90 minutes. So if you play for less than an hour, they boo you. If you start recycling the same songs during your set, they might boo you. Kansas City, I just ran out of stuff to say. I'll never forget this. The Daylights were opening up for us. It was an embarrassment show. It was a good crowd. It was the small theater in Kansas City, and I was running dry. I said, okay, thank you guys. And then someone in my ear was like, you still got 20 minutes. You got to keep playing. And I was like, do we have a birthday? Do we have a birthday in the venue? And someone raised their hand. I said, oh my God, this is amazing. Well, you know what? Come up on stage. We're going to sing happy birthday to you. And I just burned through 7 minutes doing just drivel garbage. And I got a couple boos from that.
Ryan, I don't know if you know this about me. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I'm obsessed with the paranormal. Just can't get enough. I have a podcast called Paranormalish. It's just, I'm a mess.
Yeah.
Tell me this story about how you saw an angel, and this is 100% true.
100%. Yeah.
What happened?
When I think it was like turning 8. I was around 8 years old. So I was old enough to be aware of reality versus fiction. My mother, who's also very, very, Pentecostal, prayed for years and years and years that God would reveal himself to me. And specifically, this is a very odd thing to pray, but like she told me, she prayed that she would ask God that I would one day see my guardian angel. So I'm like, I think I'm turning 8. This is probably the summer that I turned 8. And I get woken up by this cat that we, funny enough, only owned for a week. And this cat crawls in bed, starts like literally pawing at my face. I wake up, and then my door's cracked and I can see into our living room, and I see this absolutely glowing, like towering figure just with his hands out like this, facing me, just like emanating light. We had 8-foot ceilings. This thing was probably all but a foot of the entire height of the room. And it's just staring. It doesn't say anything. His hands out. The whole room's lit up, and it's just emanating and like looking at me. And so I do one of those things that, I'm smart enough to know, wait, this can't be happening. Wait, can this be happening? So what can I do to make sure I'm awake, right? Let's do that. Let's do that test to make sure this isn't a dream. I pull the covers over my head. I literally start shaking. I get under my bed. I'm like slapping my arm. I'm pinching myself. I remember all this vividly. My cat's there. I'm petting the cat. I'm like, do you see that cat? And then I go under my covers for what feels like probably an eternity, thinking because I really don't want to. It's a lot to take in, especially if you're a kid. And I'm like, I'm really hoping I'm just imagining this. It wasn't scary. It was just like not scary in a dark way. You know what I mean? It was just intimidating. And so then I pull the covers back over, and sure enough, he's still there.
No kidding.
And probably lasted, I want to say 15, 20 minutes.
Oh my God. Let's pause the story right there for time because we're running a little over. But I want you to tell that story, the entire story. There's a lot more to it. And if you don't mind, I want you to tell the whole thing on the podcast. I want people to hear every detail of this. It is just crazy.
Do it.
Ryan Tedder's hanging out. Another crazy road story. You're going to tell me the one about the plane. Something frightening.
This is not to scare anybody, but we've flown a lot, and it's going to scare you. So I'm sorry. So if you already have a fear of flying, don't change the station. Just distract yourself. 6 months ago, we're in a charter plane. We're in a private plane flying back we're taking off from Van Nuys, and we fly out. We get 45 minutes away, hour away, and the plane starts banking to go back. And the pilot walks out from the cabin, and he goes, and this is a guy that flew for British Airways. He's very, very skilled. And he comes back and he goes, Ryan, I don't mean to alarm you, but we got to return back. There's something I'm not comfortable finishing this flight with what's going on. And I said, what's going on? And he goes, we've lost hydraulic pressure. Okay. And he goes, yeah, so we're going to dump fuel so we can lower the weight of the plane so we can land. You're going to hear a lot of weird noises. I already knew something was going on because I know every sound inside of a plane at this point. So then we turn around back towards Van Nuys. I text one of my friends who's a pilot who's flown us before. I said, hey, what all does if you lose hydraulic pressure on a flight, what does that mean? He writes back, that's about the worst thing that can happen. Hydraulics control flaps, brakes, everything.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. So then I walk into the cabin. I've seen this guy sweating and his face is bright red. And I'm like, this is not awesome. So I text my wife. We all just say, hey, hold tight. We're in a situation here. So long story short, we come in. He jolts the last bit of hydraulic pressure that we have. The flaps, like one flap comes up, then the other comes up, and then they all come up. We come in, and the second we land, he loses steering. So he pumps the brakes. We come in and we stop dead on the runway. And then it's going ding, 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 because it won't stop. And then finally it comes to a halt. And then emergency vehicles come out. They tow the plane in. And then the cockpit door opens and the pilot jumps off the plane and just like he was, physically shaking for the next 20 minutes. Couldn't talk. He was just like it was the scariest I've ever seen. This happens every year, all the time. I Googled it and it did say this is one of the least likely things to happen. You don't want it to happen, but it does happen. And we survived.
Good Lord.
That was a tour story for you.
Oh my God. I'm never flying again. Let me just state that right now. Ryan, once again, you've written for everyone. Can't go through your entire roster, but give me a Joe Bros story. You're fresh off a Sucker and the album and all that stuff. Give me a good Joe Bros.
Joe Bros. Yeah. So, I work with Nick individually and Joe individually with DNC and Nick with his solo stuff off and on. I've known them since forever. And I will say that in 15 years of me writing and producing records for other people, they are the most efficient, professional, timely, easy artists I've ever worked with. It's spoiled me. If every album was like this and every artist was like this, I would do this till I'm like 70. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So I'm trying to tell you like a crazy story, but
maybe that is the story.
No, that is the story. The beauty of the Jonas Brothers is I don't have a crazy story. I can't say enough. I've for everyone listening, I think if you're a fan of the Jonas Brothers, I mean, you should know that these are some of the greatest guys that I've ever come across or worked with in my career, and I've worked with 95% of everybody.
Ryan, before I go into number one, which you've had plenty of number ones, what do you think makes you, and really kind of dig into this answer, what do you think makes you a good songwriter?
I think empathy is big. You need to be, I've never seen a sociopath that's made a great songwriter. If you're doing lyrics and melody anyway, you know what I mean?
That's a good point.
You need to be able to put yourself emotionally in the position of somebody else and see the world from their eyes and imagine, how do they want to feel singing a record? It's like, I knew like with Sucker, using that as an example, I knew that the lyrics in that song is something all three of them would say to their wives. Okay, so that's number one. But I also know that bands, especially, not bands, all artists want to feel cool when they're singing something and performing it. Everybody's low key trying to be cooler than they are. That's the truth. We're all in some Like even people who are confident, I'm happy with who I am, I'm confident, but if given the choice to perform or do something that makes me look cooler, I'm going to do it. Because that's just done. That's how we are, right? So Sucker, the sound of it just had a swag too. I was like, man, I would feel cool performing this. It was a funny, weird story. I finished that record in Dubai. I just don't know why I just thought about that. I remember having to get on the Wi-Fi in Dubai. I was about to miss my flight, which is a long flight, and I'm watching it upload to get mixed, and it was like 3 minutes left, 2 minutes, and they're like, sir, you have to go. You're going to miss your flight. You have to go. And I was like, but it's the Jonas Brothers. You don't understand the fate of the free world. But anyway, so yeah, what makes you a good songwriter, man, is empathy, number one. Number two, approaching it like anything else, 10,000 hours. You have to write songs that suck for like 2 or 3 years, and then they get better, and then you finally have a good one, and then you have a great one. And then if you're lucky and the stars align, one of them turns into a hit. And if you are good in the room, the other critical component of being a songwriter is personality. That's the part that a lot of people leave out. I know a lot of hit writers who would have 10 times more if they had better bedside manner.
Ryan, let's do a quick recap. Rescue Me, we played that earlier. It is out. You got a track, Wanted, which is also out. Basically, if you love One Republic, get on these tracks or you're a bad person. Think that's safe to say?
Oh, that's 100%.
Of course, Songland Season 2 just ended. As a kid, you saw an angel.
That's correct.
And he's going to tell the full story. I mean, you have to hear this. Full story coming soon on my podcast, which is called Paranormalish, on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts. So look out for that.
Do it.
And dude, you're the best guy ever. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, man. Ditto.
Ryan Tedder, at the end of every interview, fist bump to make it official.
Fist bump.
Give me a little